there is a senator, a Republican from Kansas named Senator Roger Marshall, who starts questioning Fauci about his money, his investments, and so on. And he's trying to get at exactly how much money Fauci's been making as this long-term, almost 50-year bureaucrat. And Fauci, instead of just disclosing it, because he works for us, gets very defensive and winds up calling the senator a name that was caught on an open mic. Here's that exchange in part.
My financial disclosures are public knowledge and have been so. You are getting amazingly wrong information.
So I cannot find them. Our office cannot find them. Where would they be if they're public knowledge? Where?
It is totally accessible to you if you want it.
For the public. Is it accessible to the public?
To the public.
Great. We look forward to reviewing it.
You are totally incorrect.
Well, we look forward to reviewing it.
Senator Marshall, Dr. Fauci has answered you. It is public information, and he's happy to give it to you if you would ask. Senator Moran.
What a moron.
What a moron, Fauci says about the senator. And it turns out that neither, the woman at the end, nor Dr. Fauci were correct. It's not You tell us it's not public. It's not just there ready for the rest of us to grab and see. And one of your questions is, why not?
Exactly. Well, you can't be America's top doctor if you're misleading the American people in a Senate hearing when you're under oath. So, look, for 14 months before that exchange, and Senator Marshall knew about this, our organization at openthebooks.com, we had filed Freedom of Information Act requests on Fauci's finances to open the books. And we filed that with his employer, the National Institutes of Health. They produced virtually nothing on the Fauci financials. So 10 months later, with Judicial Watch as our lawyers, we sued NIH in federal court to open the books on the Fauci financials. Then the U.S. Senator Roger Marshall cited Forbes, my column, and demanded that Fauci open the books on his finances. And Fauci misled the American people. He said that his finances were public knowledge. When I called him out on it in my column at Forbes to have NIH post online the Fauci financials, that according to our lawsuit, there's 1,200 pages that NIH admits to, that's when NIH came down hard on Forbes. Forbes came down hard on me. I told the truth. Forbes pulled the plug.
It's crazy. Next thing you know, you're out of a job. And it's when you look at the editor's note to you, it's very clear they were most unhappy that they were getting blowback from the NIH and with your column, though. And you know me, I was like, did he screw it up? Let's get to the bottom of it. Maybe Forbes had a right to get rid of him. This is a nothing. What they're picking on you for and the minor sort of thing that they're coming at, it's a nothing in any other newsroom. Like you changed one word in response to the NIH report. And we can get to what that was about. But it was a nothing burger. They used this as an excuse clearly because it seems they didn't like you focusing on Fauci.
So here's what we've come to realize, Megyn. Fauci is unreviewable by his employer, the National Institutes of Health. He's untouchable, and he's protected by the United States federal government. So, we unearthed the memo. It was back in 2004 that is evidence of all of this. And it's a memo that spells out a permanent pay adjustment. It's why Fauci's the top paid federal employee, out earning the president, 4-star generals in the United States military, and all 4.3 million of his colleagues. This memo gave what's considered a permanent bonus, a permanent pay adjustment to Dr. Fauci expressly because of his work on biodefense. Megyn, in other words, Fauci was paid to stop the next pandemic through research, through defense, and obviously the pandemic happened, and so through his response. And so all of this needs to be debated as to whether Fauci actually failed on all 3 points.
Mm-hmm. Right. We're entitled to know. It's like somebody who works for me on my team saying, oh, you forgot what you pay me? Well, I'm not telling you. Well, guess what? I'm entitled to that information. I'm Fauci's boss. So are you. So are all of our listeners. So we get to know what we're paying him. You did find that out. Let's just start with, because you say he's the highest paid federal employee, more than you sent out a tweet or something that really brought it home. You're like, how How does Fauci, who works for a sub-agency of a sub-agency, make more than the head of the entire agency? Never mind the president above him. He makes more than his boss's boss, his boss's boss's boss, all of them. So give us some of the numbers.
Yeah, he makes about 2.5 times what the Secretary of Health and Human Services makes, and that's a cabinet level position, Megyn. Okay, so here's what the record shows. Here are the facts on the Fauci household compensation. Number one, Dr. Fauci out-earns the president and makes in 2021 $456,000 a year. Number two, Mrs. Fauci, Christine Grady, many people don't know she's actually the chief bioethicist at Fauci's employer, the National Institutes of Health. And Christine Grady out-earns the vice president of the United States at $236,000 per year. Here's the third thing we found. We estimated that when Dr. Fauci retires, he'll retire on the largest golden parachute retirement pension ever in U.S. federal government history. In his first year, he'll retire on $355,000 a year. Now, here's the point. Everything that I just talked about, we received none of it from Fauci's employer over at the National Institutes of Health. We had to file Freedom of Information Act requests with other federal agencies just to get how much Dr. Fauci and his wife make. If it was up to NIH, we wouldn't even know how much he makes.
And it's so crazy to see him get so indignant in response to the questions from the senator saying, like, give me the information. Him being like, it's public information. You don't know what you're talking. It's the same exact thing he did to Rand Paul. I mean, identical. Just obfuscation, indignation, but no information. At least none that's correct.
Well, that's a fair characterization. This is what we didn't know. At the time of that hearing, this is what we didn't know. We didn't have his ethics and financial disclosures on an unredacted, non-redacted, non-blanked out basis from 2019 and 2020, and it was federal fiscal year 2022. We didn't know his stock and bond trades during the pandemic or currently. We didn't have a copy of his job description, just a basic public document. We didn't have copies of his contract with all amendments, additions, and modifications. We don't know if he has a hush agreement, Megyn. So he's done all this media, and we don't know what he can't talk about if he's got a non-disclosure agreement. We didn't know if he was getting royalties. Now, only a small portion of this we know to this day. Most of it is still hidden over at the National Institutes of Health because we requested this. We're suing on this. They admit they're holding 1,200 pages subject to our request. They haven't produced it. And so right here, I so appreciate your platform. We want to issue the transparency clarion call to the National Institutes of Health. Dr. Fauci says that his financial information is public knowledge. It's not. You're holding it. You're being sued for it. So release it to the American people. Come clean with the American people.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.